Today we're going to talk about the 5 Axon implementation principles. First, engagement and adoption above all else. Second, think big, start small. Third, be guided by practical usage. Fourth, breadth over depth. And fifth, do not model. First up, engagement and adoption above all else. This is the most important principle of all, because if we have lots of information gathered, but no one's looking at it, what good have we done? This becomes outdated in no time. It's high usage that is actually going to drive impact and meaning for the organisation. So the goal isn't to have the best metadata, but the most used. Traditional governance methods are more heavy-handed and are about forcing people to obey governance rules, policies, create definitions and upkeep them. The idea behind Axon is that we want to provide value. People should want to come to Axon to use it because of the business benefits they personally receive. Heavy governance is going to break adoption. By putting value at the forefront, we're going to drive adoption. Another way to do this is to make sure that you promote reflection on existing artifacts. So adoption is driven by making people feel useful and involved, rather than just uploading a bunch of old glossaries and whatever you already had that probably wasn't working. Review that, reflect, and collaborate to improve. Secondly, think big but start small. It's great to have long-term vision. You need to have your best practices ready to build on. So one way is to come in with a project or an initiative. That's the way you're starting small, but make sure not to pigeonhole yourself by focusing too much, for instance, on a specific regulation. If you define everything in the context of that regulation, when you come to broaden your use of Axon, you will be stuck with some issues. Various use cases will come over time, and you're going to need to reuse the common work that you've done. That's what enterprise data governance is all about. So create those best practices, don't pigeonhole yourself, and build up that network so that once you get going, you can actually scale very quickly. Be guided by practical usage. Do not get lost in focusing on useless definitions. This is the old school approach to data governance, thinking that you have to just define everything and get all of your glossary perfect before doing anything else. Documentation for the sake of documentation is boring and pointless. No one is engaging with it. And so these lengthy specific definitions are only going to put people off and be cumbersome to maintain. Again, stopping engagement, our most important principle. The important thing is to keep it light, keep it consumable, and that way you're going to ensure that people come back and keep it maintained. Breadth over depth. By coming into Axon and drawing broad frameworks, you allow people to collaborate consistently. For instance, if you create a high-level glossary structure, people who come to define their local terms can slot them into a specific hierarchy. Or if you create a system overview using the interface facet, then people can critique that and build out lineage by collaborating together. Outlines allow the relevant business-critical pieces to be built upon and the less relevant pieces to be ignored, as they should be. The goal is not to document everything, just the business-critical pieces, the pieces that are going to drive value for the organisation. Finally, do not model. Models have their uses, but they are not good for engagement and they are not what Axon is about. Nuance is such that perfect logical models are just going to create semantic arguments. We don't want to go around in those circles and turn people away from engagement. Models can be referenced, but for Axon, just simplify the concepts and share them for the 99% of people using it.